and welcome to this video on understanding and using place value with Cuba Education. In this lesson you will learn how to write and say large numbers, how to round numbers to the nearest 10, how to round numbers to the nearest 100, and how to round numbers to the nearest 1000, as well as how to round to the nearest whole number. So let's look at this place value chart. When we talk about money, we have hundreds, tens and units. So we could have either £123 or £1.23, something like that. So if you think about the units as in like pennies, and these like 10 pence, 100 pence, so this would be like 123 pence rather than pounds. And then we have thousands of pennies, tens of thousands, or even thousands of pounds, tens of thousands of pounds, and so on. So in this case, we just have 3 units, 3 pennies if you like. Here we have 2 tens and 3 units, which is 23 pennies. 100 pennies, 20 pennies, and 3 pennies, so 123 pennies. And that's basically how it goes on. So 2,123, 32,123, 432,123, and finally 5,432,123. Now, when we have numbers just written like this, it can be really difficult to say them. So that number along the bottom there, if there's just a bunch of numbers in front of you, it's hard to know how to say that number. Let's say it was £5 million, so 5,432,123 pounds. Now to make it easier, we can put commas in, which is what you would normally see when anyone writes down a large number. And what you do is you put it in every 3 places. So with the 3, the 23 and the 123, we don't use commas. But with the thousands, we start to put a comma in. Can you see? So it splits it up for you, 2,123. So we're going to need the comma after the 2 in all of them because it's back 3 places from the end. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So you're going backwards 3 places, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to put a comma in there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and put a comma in. And then the same happens again. 1, 2, 3, put a comma in. And then obviously 1, 2, 3. We don't need to put a comma here because there's no numbers, but on the bottom one, go back 3 spaces and put a comma, then go back another 3 spaces and put a comma. What about when we get into bigger numbers? Let's have a look at some bigger numbers. So here I've added on now tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions. So here we have 5,432,123 as before. But let's have a look at this one. I've now added a 2 into the tens of millions. That gives us 25,432,123. And then here, 125,432,123. And finally, 2,125,432,123. So that is a really big number, and yes, it would be very nice to have that in our bank accounts. So let's have a look at some big numbers and see if you can say them. Here is a number. If you'd like to pause the video and write it down and see if you can put the commas in. I've written it a bit bigger there for you. So see if you can just work out where the commas go. Have a little practice. If you already know this, that's fine. You can just move on to the next video. So let's have a look at this one then. Going back 3 places, put a comma there and there. That gives us 23,456,789. What about this one? Okay, so the comma goes just there. 457,294. So just pause the video when I bring up the big number, because otherwise I'll be saying the answer more or less straight away. Alright, so the comma goes just there and just there. That's 73,825,643. And what about this huge number? Oh. Seem to have made a mistake here, but never mind, just use the bigger number on the screen. Okay, going back 3 spaces and 3 more and 3 more, giving you 3,672,894,723. Okay, so excellent. I hope you understand that. I just wanted to go through that first before we started talking about rounding numbers. Some of my students do have trouble writing out really large numbers and working with really large numbers, so I hope that's helped. Okay, let's look at rounding numbers to the nearest 10 then. So let's look at the number 47. Now, the way I like to look at this is drawing a bit of a number line. So 47 has got to be somewhere between 40 and 50, and 45 must be right in the middle there. So 47 must be somewhere around here. So that means we're going to round that to 50 because rounded to the nearest 10, it's closer to 50. So 33, between 30 and 40. Again, 35 is in the middle, so 33 would be a bit closer to 30, so we'd round it to 30. And 24, around about there, so we'd round it to 20. It's lower than 5. So let's have a look at some rules. 47. If we are rounding to the nearest 10, we can safely say that this will be between 40 and 50, because they're tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. However, it is the digit next to the tens column that we have to look at, the units column, to decide whether we round it to 40 or 50. In this case, it's a 7. If the digit is 5 or above, then we round up to 50. So if that units digit there is 5 or above, this units digit here, if it's 5 or above, it means we round it to the next 10 up, which would be 50. If the digit was 4 or below, we would round it down to 40. So let's round these numbers to the nearest 10. Now, in this case, we've got 143, 237 and 326. So there's hundreds in there, but they don't want us to round to the nearest 100, they want us to round to the nearest 10. So 143 must be between 140 and 150. And 143 must lie around about there if 5 is right in the middle. 145 would be right in the middle. So that means we'd round it to 140. So in essence, you can forget the hundreds and just look at the 43 and then add the 1 on at the end if you get confused. So 237 must be between 230 and 240. So looking on the number line, it must be around about there, so we have to round it to 240. And then 326 must lie between 320 and 330. So 26 is bigger than 5, or it's 5 or above, so 6 is 5 or above, so it goes there, or 326 must be around about there, so we'd round it to 330. Okay, what about rounding these numbers to the nearest 10 then? Again, this says now 2,141, so we're only looking at the 41 bit. So it must be between 2,140 or 2,150. Well, it's only 41, so we know it's really close to the beginning, so we must round it to 2,140. 1,232 must lie between 1,230 and 1,240. And again, 1,232 must be fairly close to the beginning, so we must round it to 1,230. Have a quick go at this last one. Pause the video if you need to and see how you get on. Okay, so if you've had a go, we know that 4,328 must be between 4,320 and 4,330. And if we're just looking at the 28 part, we know that 28 is closer to 30, so we need to round it to 4,330. What about rounding numbers to the nearest 100? We have the number 143. Now in this case, because we're rounding to the nearest 100, we do have to look at the 100 part. The 100 part counts. Now, we have to know, is 143 closer to 100 or 200? Well, 43 is less than 50, and 50 is in the middle. Maybe my arrow should be a little bit more this side. But we know that 43 is less than 50, so it should be rounded to 100. 237 is between 200 and 300. And again, it's less than 250, so it'd be about there, so it'd round down to 200. Now 356 is between 300 and 400, and 56 is over 50, so it's over halfway, so we need to round it to 400. Okay, let's look at these numbers. We still have numbers rounding to the nearest 100, but now we're looking at numbers in their thousands. So 2,141 must be between 2,100 and 2,200. So remember, it's the 100 part we're looking at. 2,141 is lower than 2,150. So 2,150 probably would be about there. So my arrow probably could have been a bit further over, but just as an estimate anyway, 2,100. 1,262 must be between 1,200 and 1,300. 1,262, around about there, it's over 250, so we round it to 1,300. 4,328 is between 4,300 and 4,400. So 328, probably around about there. 4,300 is what we're going to round it down to. So remember the rule. If it's over 50 or over 5, we round up, and if it's 4 or 40 or below, we round down. Let's have a look at rounding numbers to the nearest thousand. 2,641. So 2,641 must be between 2,000 and 3,000. Well, we know 2,600 is closer to 3,000 than it is to 2,000. So it's round about here, so we're going to round it to 3,000. 1,262 must be between 1,000 and 2,000. If it's 262, it's going to be quite low, closer to 1,000, so we round it down to 1,000. And rounding 4,828 to the nearest thousand is between 4,000 and 5,000. And we know that 4,800 is closer to 5,000 than it is to 4,000. So we have to round it up to 5,000. Let's have a look at these ones. Here we have 12,641. Now we're rounding this to the nearest thousand, not the nearest 10,000. So we're still looking at this 2,000, 1,000, 6,000 numbers. Okay, we're not looking at the tens, which are the 12, 40, and 60, or the 10, sorry. Okay, so that must be between 12,000 and 13,000. Well, it's 12,641, so it's obviously closer to 13,000. Have a go at the next two and pause the video if you need to, and I'll go through the answers. So if you pause the video, we know that 41,262 is between 41,000 and 42,000. So again, you could just ignore the 4 if you want to, and think about 1,000 and 2,000. And we know that 1,262 is actually closer to 1,000, so it would be there, and we'd round down to 41,000. 66,828 is between 66,000 and 67,000. And 66,828 is almost at 67, so we're going to round it up. Again, my arrow probably could have been a bit closer to 67, more like here. We're in the 800s now. Okay, rounding numbers to the nearest whole number then. 45.27. Well, 45.27 is either between 45 and 46. And the 0.27 is less than 5. The 2 is less than 5, so it rounds down to 45. 21.63 is between 21 and 22. And the 0.6 is above 5. So that's like saying £21.63. You're almost at £22, so you can say we round it up to 22. And what about 14.59? Or if you're thinking about money, £14.59. Again, that number is 5 or above. This one here, after the decimal. So we round it up to 15. Thank you for using Cubit Education, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to complete any of the resources that are in your course if you're doing this on one of our courses on our Teachable page.